usual, let's just take a moment. What is awareness in me? It's apart from our thinking mind, and our emotions, and our body. Very tricky to actually nail it down in a sense. On the other hand, we'll sometimes catch ourselves that we've just been watching in awareness and not thinking or feeling anything for a moment. It's a quirky little process of discovery. Let's just take a moment and play with that idea. What is my awareness? Okay. I want to start off today, look at our lenses that we see the world with. I might call them reality models or reality lens, many different words, but we don't just have a lens that we see with. We actually have many of them. And a lot of them are built of programs. And some of them are biological. And the point is, if I'm getting yanked out of my peace and I wish you well state, in a reaction, it's because I'm looking through a lens. A biological lens is anything strange is a potential threat. Whether it's a person I don't know, an animal I don't know, or anything, you can feel a little rise in the defense, like, all right, I need to be suspicious here, I need to be, more cautious, ready to do battle perhaps. And that's fine, I mean, it's going to be there. But if we recognize it, that's where awareness comes in. Now I can look with awareness and see how I'm seeing through my lens, almost like simultaneously. So I can see, oh yeah, I don't know why, but that person's making me nervous. All right, how do I meet this situation and stay in peace? Other lenses are programmed. A common one in this culture is individual responsibility and rights. I got to do it all myself, and you got to do it all yourself. So just get a better job, just get right, etc. And we have been programmed with these types of lenses since birth. There's also lenses of achievement, like, well, did I do it good enough? Am I achieving enough? And we are evaluating our life on a performance basis. So many types of lenses, and we can switch between them in a split second. It's like, yes, I feel sorry for you. Why don't you get a better job? You're always broke. It's like, it relates to what's called critical thinking too. I've heard people use that word in looking at what they're doing in their mind and instead looking at what the actual facts are in a situation. But even what we call facts are very often tainted by our lens that we're looking through. Are they a good person? Well, depends on how I'm going to measure being a good person. So anyway, there's really no end to dealing with our lenses, but we can become much more aware of them. So that, for me, the moment I feel I'm out of my peace and curiosity and wishing you well, it's time to ask the question, all right, what am I doing here? What lens am I looking through? You know, why do I want to be ticked off about this? Why do I want to be upset by it? Why am I feeling afraid? And that is back to the function of mindfulness. If we've chosen to grow in awareness and maybe to become a more, quote, spiritual person, a more decent human being, whatever has led us onto this path of mindfulness, if I want to proceed down this path, then I need to take time constantly to just watch the old programs in my mind and see for the moment what lens I'm looking through. If I want to go into that more in depth, that's like what we call psychology, analyzing all the programs and why is that there, what's it doing, each to their own with that. I prefer to just kind of look and say, all right, feeling nervous, and wait for my awareness to show me something. But there's no right or wrong way to this. Another lens that frequently causes us conflict is it's almost inconceivable to my basic construct of programs and that you are so different than I am in your programs and constructs. That is, I assume, if I'm not careful, that you're looking at things the same way I do, that you have the same lenses. And that's obvious. What do you mean by that? Because that's another lens we can become aware of. And when you finally realize, I have no clue how Josh thinks. And I have no clue how anybody thinks. I don't even know how I think, because my lenses change all the time. Then I can revert. If I can see them, I'm inclined to do that, to project my lens. I can then stop and say, let's just get back to curiosity. Who are you? What does go on in there for you? Not that I want to hear about it, just staying in that state of openness rather than saying, well, you should be like me, or assuming that you're going to be like me. And all these things are so ingrained, and that's why awakening is a constant journey, a lifetime journey. A lot of them, it's fine. Okay, I've got that perception. It's not worth bothering with. It doesn't cause me too much trouble, and I prefer strawberry jelly to orange jelly, so I'll stick with that. You know, it's like some things are not really problems. We just can let them be. But if I'm constantly getting irritated, like daily, or with certain situations, or constantly making me angry or afraid, and I want to proceed to more peace, that's where I need to begin to look with, it's almost a dual vision. I can look with awareness and just ask, what's going on for you? How do you see things? Genuine openness there to let myself look at it differently. Because if I get a glimpse of how you're seeing things, now we can begin to dialogue calmly about the differences we see. If I'm looking through my lens and saying, no, you're looking at it wrong, let me tell you how you should be doing this or that, we're going to have conflict. And neither one of us are going to have peace out of it. So, it becomes just part of the momentary practice of always, am I at peace? Am I wishing well? Am I looking in curiosity or not? And then being willing to say, all right, I'm not at peace. And I don't really care what you think. I'm just going to tell you what I think, how it should be. That's how we begin to bring a deeper peace to our ongoing life. So every day I'm not getting torqued out about this or that, or upset about this, or anxious about that. It requires that constant monitoring. And in our practice, our growth, it's that monitoring that grows. We become more habituated in double checking, all right, what am I thinking about this? How am I seeing it? Where's my awareness for this situation? And then taking that moment to just be still and ask my awareness, what do I need to do here? What's really going on? Am I really in danger? You know, so I have not found that the growth is a sudden big realization of awareness that's a steady state. It's, for me, the growth has been more quickly and more often returning to that dual mode of looking. All right, there's some awareness. I see him getting agitated. Do I want to choose to get back to my peace? You know, it's like, it becomes quite humorous, I believe, in there. And it's even humorous, you can watch it in another person. If I am able to get to my peace, then I'm watching another person do their work, or not. And it makes life a lot more entertaining for me, anyway. So that's an overview of the idea that we have these multiple lenses, so many of them actually. I don't know if I said it, but another example I've kind of started in on, well, yes, I feel sorry for you, but you know, business is business, and it's okay that they're foreclosing on your house. It's okay that they're denying you medical treatment, you know, because business needs to operate. You know, there's lenses like that in our culture. And we each have our own segment or aspect of those where we just look and say, no, this is how the world works, and it's okay. And we dismiss our compassion and our love because, well, that's business, or that's politics, or that's national defense, and we switch in those other lenses and don't even realize we've crossed that line, and now we're into judgment and a hardness of our heart because of the lens. So
I just wanted to say something that somebody described the exact thing that you're talking about of lenses as reality tunnels.
okay.
It's more like, it's like your reality.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't really know it's how you're looking at the thing
Right.
at the time. That's your reality.
Yeah.
That's just how it is, or whatever.
Exactly.
Even though it's just another perspective.
Thank you. Yes, that's the basis of what I was trying to get to with this. So thank you. We do believe that is our reality, that it is how it is when we drop into one of our lens perceptions. So, well, no, that's the way the world works. You know, today it's capitalism everywhere. You know, well, of course they need to make a profit. They want to make a profit. And you know, I, for little bits, enjoy going on a site that gets a lot of MAGA input. And I just frequently propose, you know, if we went to a progressive mode of living, everybody would have a happy little life. And then I get a stream of socialism, communist, and all this stuff back. But you can see they're in their reality model of, no, this is how life works. And it's not an option to consider, could it work differently? That's the danger when we believe our lens is our reality. We're not open to growth or change in that tunnel of that lens. You know, and the same will go with people's religious beliefs. You know, yes, I like loving people, but you're gay, you're trans, I can't love you. Not till you change and get right, because that's, you know, that's how it is. God created the male and female, and you're You know, all these, but that tunnel is a good word, thank you. And once we go into a lens, we're locked into its very narrow perspective and judgment of reality. But
There's a site I just learned about yesterday, a group on Facebook. It's about putting the priority on love before the verse
mm-hmm.
in that situation with the Bible verses, because, you know, whenever you get a verse that you wonder how to interpret it,
Mm-hmm.
put the emphasis on love first. And they've got a group together, so
Cool.
probably, I think I did join it, so. Yeah,
So it still all comes back to just, do I want to be in peace? Basically, all the time. And if I allow those other things to operate unconsciously without being aware of them, I'm going to keep getting yanked out of my peace. You know, just, it becomes more subtle, but to me, even more powerful. When I can look at another person and feel that divine, the namaste, there's a beautiful feeling of love and compassion. It doesn't demand anything of me. It's just beautiful. I like being in that state and I want to be in it more. But if I keep a lens operating, it hardens me. And I can't feel that connected state of the divine to the divine if I'm running a program in a lens that says, well, no, you should be doing it different. You should be different. So it's back to that, all right, am I at peace? I could be at peace. Do I want to be at peace? Maybe, maybe not. And then making the choice, yeah, I want to be back in that more lovely state of awareness in my mind. And that's it. That's all we have to do for a whole lifetime. Thoughts, Anna?
Well, my journey was, I guess, the opposite, where I took on other people's perspectives and tunnels, where it was hard to even distinguish and realize what is my own tunnel and perspective. And I think that's my own personal journey within the last few years, was what is my tunnel, my perspective, my viewpoint. And that's how I took on so many people's energy. And I mean, it helped with the life coaching and everything, but at the same time, at the end of the day, you're like, what's my problem? You know, why am I taking on so much and I can't distinguish the levels of how much energy and other people's shit that I'm taking on? So that was a few years of just cleansing and clearing that and learning what's my piece, who am I, and yeah. It's a lot of even now, where I'm just sitting still and then a thought pops up or whatever, I'm like, this isn't even my thought right now. Like, where am I getting this from? So I'm proud of myself for even pausing and asking myself, my higher self, my inner child, whoever, you know, what's my true thought? What's my,
Cool.
you know, yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, and that's, thank you, that's another thing. You know, biologically, we have what's called mirror neurons. And it's what gives us the inclination. If Chad stands up and folds his arms, I'm going to be inclined to want to fold my arms too, because he has stepped forward in the exchange. It's a biological thing in us, but it applies to what you just said. When we're with a group of people, we tend to align with their lens. If we're not aware, it's very natural for us to try to shift to the lens of the group of people we're with, because that's part of maintaining the tribe from the more primitive part of our mind. So yeah.
Oh yeah, it's definitely linked to just survival.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And we do grow in awareness. Oh, I'm aligning with other people's lenses. Wait a minute, I don't think that way at all. Here I am going along chatting with them as if that was so, you know? So I've been through bits of that too. Yeah, it's interesting to spot that one and let it go.
An experience I've had more recently is one of, I feel upset. There's been an encounter, usually with another person, and I feel in some way upset. But the part about wishing them well has not changed. I still wish them well.
Yeah.
I don't have any feelings on that. And so is that still something then in me that I need to let come up, or
Well, I've said before, we're not getting rid of our personality. We've
Yeah.
all got one. But the idea is if you say you still feel you wish them well, then you've shifted your identity a lot to your awake awareness, because that's your stable underlying. But the personality still is going to bring up its energies.
okay.
The thing is, can I just look at it without starting screaming and throwing a tantrum first? Can I just look at it and say, all right, what's this telling me? You know, sometimes being upset is just a signal, like, pay attention, there's something out of order here. And it's okay, it's just whether I let it pull me out of my peace or not is how I see it. There may be even times it's appropriate to speak loudly and forcefully, like, no, we will not have that here. But I can do it with awareness of, like, you feel it coming and you look and say, yep, I'm gonna let it loose, let's see what this does. But there's awareness the whole time. So I don't think we're ever gonna be rid of the impulse to be fearful or upset, pissed off, or whatever. It's, can I see it when it comes up? And then I've talked before, how can I move that energy in a non-destructive way? And even that can be very curious, because if I see someone with a gun going into a schoolyard and I happen to have a gun, I may shoot them out of love. For all the other people, they're gonna shoot. You know, I don't draw any lines on what energy is gonna come up and how it's gonna be expressed. It's feeling that energy come up and like, all right, I really feel like I gotta do something here right now. What do I need to do? And listening with awareness to express a energy on purpose. That make any sense? Or sound weird?
No, it does, and also, it almost seems like, so I could be upset and still be at peace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, that's,
And I've just found that as we proceed, the amount of upsetness diminishes. You know, I said my friend that I finally decided to block, you know, for 2 days I wanted to attack back. I could feel that energy. It's like, oh yeah, it's still here. So, and that was an upset in a sense. It persisted for 2 days before finally it just, it's like, no, I'm just done with that. And I block. It's this adventure of, you know, how much do I want to be at peace? And how much do I want to let my personality be transformed? you know, but being upset is just something in me indicating something's out of order for how I want my experience to be. It's not a bad thing when the feeling of upset comes. And yeah, if I dwell on the situation in Gaza or other heinous things this government is doing, I get a very strong feeling of upset. But then I just look with it and through it, and it's like, all right, but I'm not gonna spend days being in a stressed out, angry mode. I can see it is insane all the time, but it no longer makes me upset in that sense. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
I just had a comment, maybe,
Yeah.
from one perspective, like this, a lot of times people wanna talk about getting rid of the ego, or, you know, getting rid of it, you know, destroy it, you know, make it go
Mhm.
away kind of thing. But it's never gonna go away
Right.
until you stop creating it, like in the moment.
Yeah.
So that's like where you wanna gain control of the moment instead of, you know, creating your own suffering. You could create something else.
Cool. Well said.
Yeah, but because I just feel like a lot of times it's seen as like a enemy
Mhm.
or like a monster or some kind of bad thing to get rid of or attack or destroy
Yeah.
or whatever. And that's just gonna, you know,
Yeah.
intensify the situation.
Yeah. Somewhere along the line, my idea of ego switched from the ego is not all the programs and reactions I have in me. They're just programs and reactions. The ego is believing I am those things and I have to let them play out and feed them energy. The ego is but that's to me the same as what you just said. We learn to catch a reaction coming up, say, wait, do I want to feed that reaction?
It
And it's
creates
that-
itself, like it defines itself
Mm-hmm.
in regards to something else.
Yeah.
You know, and everything therefore it exists as like a separate thing
Yeah,
by defining itself, you know, as opposed to something else or whatever. So, if, you know, I mean, I'm just saying from my opinion, or in relation to something else.
yeah,
There's that separation is the definition of
yeah,
the ego or whatever. So if you stop, you know, you don't have, I'm just saying that if you don't have to, you know, and that would be different than getting rid of it, you know,
Right.
just not creating it to begin with.
yeah. And I have found that if we look at it, and it's a nasty one, and we ask, I'd like this to be undone or transformed, that old program will get changed, that our awareness can take whatever energy, it may be a defense, you know, that reaction of blocking another person is because of a fear in me for who knows why. But when it gets transformed, it simply becomes clarity, and it's like, no thanks, I don't need any of that today, goodbye. You know, rather than that defensive, then ready to attack response. So those things do change up.
Remember we had an earlier mindfulness session, we were talking about the ego is our little puppies, kind of like mine is like a little ninja, and he's always going to be part of me. And sometimes it's lovable, but sometimes it gets out of control, but I envision myself like just hugging that smaller part of the shadow until like it kind of fades, that darkness kind of fades away. You just keep sending it love and holding it, being like, thanks for protecting me.
Yeah,
Thanks for reacting.
yeah, everything was built for survival. I mean, it was where we were at in the awareness at that time, you know, 1 year old, 4 years old. We built that reaction because we thought it would either protect us or get us something we need. So you're right, it's been doing its job for what we created it to be. It's just we created most of it unconsciously and reactively.
I guess the reason why I wanted to say that is because you didn't create your own body.
No.
Right? You're born into your body, and that has a natural way. And then there's things that come into you that you create as like fictional stories, like
Mhm.
narratives that are not real. And that's
Mhm.
what the ego is, a fictional,
Right.
not real story. Unlike, for example, your body, which has like physical stuff. The
Yeah.
reason why I'm saying that is because, like, you know, Gurdjieff would make that sort of hard, you know, line between what he called essence, which was the body,
Mm-hmm.
and false personality, which is something you accumulate from the world as you're going
Okay.
through life. And I just think it's an interesting distinction to make because survival is your body.
Mm-hmm.
False personality and narratives and fictional nonsense is not survival. It's abstract chaos in most cases, and like used to manipulate people.
Yeah.
Millions of different ways. In my opinion,
Yeah.
it's a different kind of thing
Okay.
than like survival, I guess,
Yeah.
because it can go beyond that and be just psychotic and have nothing to do with survival at all, and just be like pure
Yeah.
psychosis. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
It's almost like it makes a lens, and it's on a mission to make everybody else align with the lens it makes, the false story of reality. And then you get warmongering politicians out of that lens. But yeah, that's a good distinction of the different components in us, because you know, I mean, some of us biologically are wired to be very anxious. It's just the nervous system is like that.
And we didn't create it; we just
Right.
arise within it.
And awareness is just learning to make the best of it. And maybe in time it subsides with this, but it's also learning, all right, there I go, I'm anxious again today. But you're right, I'm
You
not
could tell
maintaining a
yourself whatever
story,
Yeah, you could tell yourself whatever story
Right.
you want about it,
but it's,
you know, all day long.
As you tour, talking, just a thought that maybe the body we have first before we start to make up stories. So the natural defense mechanisms for survival are built into the body. But maybe it's those very defense mechanisms that cause us to begin creating the stories.
yes.
Yeah, they become survival.
In other words, so what I'm seeing, don't know where from, what I'm seeing is a connection between body and ego or mind. A kind of an interplay.
It's an image. It's this image of the self rather than the self. It's an image of your. It's like a self-image that you've created, but it's not
Yeah.
really yourself. It's just an image that you've created, and that's. I mean, I guess the reason why I keep going back to it is because it's much different than the natural world. It could be. I mean, it's part of the natural world, but it's a human creation.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a human creation, completely within our own hands. Whereas,
Yeah.
you know, your own
Yeah.
body is something a little bit, you know. Like if you built your own body with your own hands, that's a different story. But I don't think people did that, you know, when they were born. I think they were born into a body that was already created for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can create all kinds of like stories about it.
What I'm seeing there, a link to awareness is what we call understanding in our mental mind. It's part of the survival. If I understand how that predator works, then I have a better chance of evading it or outsmarting it. So understanding then is part of the survival mode. But what we've done with it is inflated it, just like fear. Fear originally is a very good thing. You know, trees falling, time to run, you know, and not sit around and contemplate. But then we hold on to the fear and carry it with us maybe our whole life because it got triggered one time in a good way, for a good reason. You know, that's maybe kind of what trauma is. It was a very nasty situation. It's right that you really hated it, that it caused fear. But to maintain,
Because you don't want to die. It's a
Right.
survival. You want to survive. You don't want to die.
right,
And so
so we build the story then
defend it forever.
that, you know, anybody that wears cowboy hats is a bad guy. And we, now a new lens. And then we add more and more complexity to our story. But if they paint their fingernails red, they're okay if they wear a cow. I mean, we just keep adding layers and layers to our understanding because it's still all about trying to protect
Right.
ourselves.
And so,
Yeah.
because if you had changed it, then you would die. You would
Yeah.
cease to exist, and that would
Yeah.
be like death. And so that's that fear of death. It's
Yeah.
like abstracting a physical fear of death, being killed for real, as like your ego dissolving is being
Right.
killed, but it's not being killed. It's just an abstraction of your body.
So then to bring that back to the basic mindfulness, we can spot any of that in an instant. It's that fear of being killed, of the ego, is why we don't. And everyone I've known that has followed awakening for a while, at one time had to pass this through a fear of, like, I'm losing me, of dissolution. I'm not going to exist anymore. And I've had people in group tell me that. I'm not coming anymore. You're destroying my world.
That's the point.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a good.
Yes.
So on the way, as we get moral awareness and we see, but that's just a story. And it's like, no, I love that story. That's kept me alive for 40 years, is what the ego will tell you. That fear, that getting pissed off, that whatever reaction will tell you that's necessary to stay alive. And if you let it go, you're going to die. Yeah.
Because that's where the energy is. There's just like a lot of energy in surviving.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's going to use that energy to survive.
Y'all's conversation reminds me of a dung beetle's journey, just collecting shit as you go,
Mm-hmm.
and then you fear that if you let go of this ball, then you would completely disintegrate.
Yeah.
And it's just a collection of fear, and then the whole journey is releasing that
Yeah.
ball of shit.
Very good.
That's Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah.
Yes. Get rid of the pain body.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, cool. Yeah, whatever little metaphoric images appear, use them. You know, we'll each get our own of something to
That's what it's all
symbol.
about.
Hmm?
Using things as they come up.
Mm-hmm.
Anything can be used
Yeah.
for the purpose
Mm-hmm.
of the work or the path or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. So,
Might as well.
yeah, it's all just a fun adventure
Yeah,
if we choose to let
I
it be.
agree. I agree with that.
Or it can be an intense, miserable drama if we choose. So,
And they say misery loves company.
mm-hmm.
I've heard that before.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll wrap up this part. Just again back to the basic mindfulness practice. That's what lets us catch all these other ideas and stuff we have of ego and lenses. But it's just, wait, am I at peace? Maybe. Do I want this energy to be running me right now? Making me angry, making me afraid? Oh. See, awareness is just a little question all the time. What am I doing? Am I doing it on purpose? Am I controlling my mind, or is my brain running my life? You know, and mindfulness is just more and more often returning to that little question space. And then making my choice lucidly. Oh, damn it, I'm going to be pissed off about this today. Okay, enjoy your day. You know, But it becomes humorous like that too. You start to see it. Well, I'm going to be pissed off. Somebody left a knife in the sink. That's it. Somebody's going to die. You know? So, anyway, thank you all. Take us offline.